Didn't see you there, good buddies. Welcome to another episode of ArmaGEEKdon. I'm your host, The Chief. We've got another sketchbook special for you today, showcasing some of the art that The Chief has collected over the years from comic book conventions, private commissions, etc. Now, listen, I'm starting this one here with the very first convention I ever went to. That is Kapow 2011. A convention set up and run by Mark Millar, very famous comic book writer. Now, I've invited a few guests along. They were here recently. It's the G.I. Joburg crew. That is Paul Deadly Pencils and our man S-Jubs from Down Under by way of South Africa. And they've come into the studio to talk about some art. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, we're ready for the first one. This is, like I said, Kapow 2011. I had been collecting comics since 1992-ish. So you kind of posited the question to me off air there, Steve. Why was this the first convention I'd been to? Why hadn't I been to any before? It's a really good question. I think maybe just lack of awareness. I think I was just into reading comic books and wasn't necessarily into the comic book scene or what that entailed or the convention scene. When I started going to this one I think was because it was a Mark Millar fronted convention in London. Now he was, I guess, kind of a big name at the time, and he knew a lot of people in the industry, obviously a lot of famous writers and artists, and had a bit of clout. So he put on this convention. And yeah, it was just, I thought, this is cool. I'm going to get a chance to meet some of these people that are writing and drawing some of the comic books that I've read or digested over the years. And then when I kind of hooked up with the Seddon brothers at Thought Bubble and met them for the first time, and at Roll Call, the G.I. Joe Transformers convention, they kind of said they were going to something called UCAC, which was United Kingdom Comic Art Convention or something like that.
You duck.
That means obviously something else for you boys.
Your shit, yeah.
Yes. But that was, in the 90s. They were going like mid 90s, and that was, way before I was even knowing that this kind of stuff existed. But anyway, yeah, I thought I'll get
pre-internet age, isn't it?
Yeah. So I thought,
what did we do before the internet?
I'll pop along to this show, see what's what. It was there were definitely creators there. Like Mark Millar's queue was like round half the venue. You had to queue for like 5 hours to meet him and get something signed. And I had read some of his books, and I kind of liked him in the early stages. But then I was like, he's okay. But so I wasn't going for him necessarily. But he had managed to bring a good crew of creators in. So let's go to the first one we got here. So this is a Judge Dredd by an artist called Clint Langley, a British artist. Had drawn Dredd for 2000 AD in Rebellion, had drawn Dredd, had drawn a lot of Slain with writer Pat Mills, who is 2000 AD's version of Conan the Barbarian, except it's a lot more mystical, more magical, more fantasy. And it's a good series. It goes very wild and wacky, deals in a lot of kind of dark subject matter, but that's a good book. It's worth some of the key storylines are worth checking out. He also did, again with writer Pat Mills, did the A.B.C. Warriors, which are atomic, bacterial, and chemical warriors. They are robots who are designed to fight battles that man cannot fight effectively. That's a long-running series as well. And there's it's kind of framed in the Magnificent Seven. There's actually a story called the Magnificent Seven, where they've each got their own personalities, etc. I
had some brushings with it, and it certainly has a very striking, glistening sort of metallic style to it.
Yeah, especially Langley's. What's he got here? Okay, yeah, cool, very cool.
Yeah, and some old.
That's an early one. Yeah,
from the 80s.
Yeah, love it. Love that newsprint paper. Fantastic. But yeah, so this was Clint was just sketching, and this is definitely a convention, as you see from the sketches on show here, as opposed to ones we've seen on previous sketchbook episodes I've done. My first convention, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know this thing about commissions or maybe getting pre-orders for collection. It was just a case of me going up to artists that I either knew or and even at this stage I was kind of nervous to go up to someone's table, especially someone that I didn't know their work and just kind of almost start a conversation. How do you do that? How do you kind of broach that thing and just start asking people about their work? So I was still a bit nervous at that stage, but if there were artists that I was familiar with their work from stuff I was reading, I was a little bit more comfortable, going up to them and saying, oh, I really love your work. Are you doing sketch? Or I'd see someone doing a sketch, so I'd kind of say, can you do a sketch for me? So this was just a free one that Clint had done. Nice profile picture of Dredd, old stony face as he's known.
Love it.
Lot of emotion.
Made out of granite.
Yeah.
His chin is chiseled out of rock.
And he's just using you'll know, like a brush pen, I guess, Paul, but that was starting to run out of ink as well. So
it's the best when that happens.
Yeah, you get better. I guess depth of shading, don't you? You get some thicker lines, and then you get some lighter lines.
There are guys that actually what's the word? Sabotage those pens so that they have that effect.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, there's ways you can do it. It's just risky. It's risky because it's something that you want to do. Like if you're like a big convention guy, you can bring a brush pen and you can like mess around with that ink so that you get that like sort of washout effect. But you can't put that like then back into your pencil case because it's going to leak everywhere. Yeah. So but I love that effect. It's very cool. There's actually lots of Photoshop brushes that also try to get that effect as well. Not try to actually manage to pull it off. Yeah, that is a beautiful sketch. That is right up there. And Clint Langley is a legend, man.
Yeah, so, and it was good because I was actually chatting to him at the time as well. So it wasn't a case of he was head down sketching. I was actually chatting to him about his work, whatever, and he was conversing at the same time as sketching, which is great. And I've got some other Clint Langley pieces, not in this sketchbook, but other ones. I got one in particular that featured in a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive sketchbook that I bought the original piece off him. I didn't know it at the time, and it was an absolute bargain, but that will come in a separate sketchbook. Hopefully you're on for that particular episode because that's an absolute cracker. Let's move on to see what we got next. So this was a double piece. Let me just zoom in here. So we had a Kevin O'Neill sketch of Nemesis the Warlock. Again, this is another 2000 AD character, again written by Pat Mills, who did Slain and A.B.C. Warriors. This is he's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. This is kind of like a demonic devil-like creature, although he is the anti-hero. He is the hero of the piece, and the villain is Torquemada. Now, in the far future, Earth is kind of colonized by the human race, and they've shunned aliens are effectively the devil's spawn, and it's very much a old school kind of heavy church indoctrination mixed with Nazi Germany kind of vibe going on. It's very oppressive society. Anything outside the norm, any abnormal behavior is punished, severely punished with torture and death. And
so Warhammer then.
And Nemesis is kind of on the other side fighting for the aliens and trying to free them and effectively smash down and destroy humanity. So he's definitely kind of an anti-hero. But Kevin O'Neill had done a lot of work as well with Alan Moore on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, those series, and he kind of did a lot of work here in the early days of 2000 AD, did some Dredd strips, but was kind of synonymous with Nemesis the Warlock. And then we also get just a little quick Dredd headshot from Brendan McCarthy, who again a Dredd artist, and very stylized. I'll flash up. Unfortunately, I don't have any images to hand. Otherwise, I would have cut to them now. But I'll flash up some images. He kind of had very kind of wide-brimmed Dredd helmets, which was kind of a thing when Dredd especially was coming out, and they had these chop and change between artists. There was very much each one put their own stamp on the character, so Dredd would look different. Every artist would draw him slightly differently, which was kind of cool, which is kind of the thing that Marvel fanboys go up in arms when a new artist comes on and they don't like the way that artist is drawing how they think the character should look. But I think the British or Commonwealth sensibilities are a little bit more relaxed, and we kind of like when people stamp their own mark on characters and make them their own, because the character is still the character underneath. He's still acting the same, but just might look a little bit different. But this was just a nice quick head sketch that he bashed out in about 30 seconds.
Like a little signature, cool. That's that little head sketch. Cool.
Yeah.
Because especially I found out that Brendan McCarthy didn't really go to conventions, or I've never seen him at a convention since this one. So it's kind of cool to get stuff from people that are not at every single show, which you do obviously get from some people. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, this is Hammerstein, who is a A.B.C warrior.
Oh, yeah.
This is an early incarnation of the character, and this is an artist, Liam Sharp, who had a stint on Incredible Hulk in the 90s for Marvel, and then did a Wonder Woman book with Brian Azzarello, I think, for DC, and is currently doing Green Lantern with Grant Morrison for DC. So he's got a very, when you see his fully finished art, it's very heavily kind of fantasy style, a lot of detail. But again, this was just doing quick sketches for free. Most of the stuff I got here from this convention was free because I wasn't, sure about what charges were or how to negotiate price, or even if that was even a thing. But
well, that's very cool for free. I mean, like, don't get me wrong.
I think he did it with a biro pen as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even for like $30, that's a cool sketch. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, not to put a value on it, but it's just wow, that's really cool of them.
It's loose, but you kind of get the vibe of what it is. It's kind of a big hulking dude.
Love that portrait. That side profile is terrific.
It's very
chisel.
It's a chat I had with Larry Hammer at JoCon. And his sketches are very loose and whatever's. And we were just talking about like the looseness and the sketchiness, and I actually appreciate it. But people actually, there's guys that will get a loose sketch like this, and then they'll take it to an inker, and then they'll ask the inker to like. I don't get that.
Well,
Chief, don't you do that yourself, my man?
I have got. I've done that on several occasions. I have got 2 Larry Hammer sketches. That I did have inked, not over the top of the original. I scanned it, blue lined, and then sent it to the inker. And I have a Snake Eyes and a Stalker, which I had done. Which I will send. They'll come up on another show, but I'll forward them to you, Paul, so you can see. So you've still got the original, and then you've got the embellished version, and then I got a Hellboy done, which was quite a loose sketch, and I had that inked as well. But I carefully chose the inker that was going to do the work because it's Guillermo Ortega, who is long time. He's worked for all the publishers, Image, Marvel, DC, all of them, and I'd seen his work, and then I'd seen his work at conventions of him inking stuff, and I thought, this, I don't want to just get some random guy to do it. I want to get one of the best in the biz. And when you see it, you're like, okay, cool, that is actually worth getting it done.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah, please don't misunderstand me. It's just that, like,
no.
I was just surprised when I saw, for example, I saw one of the other artists there. I think it was Robert Atkins was asked to ink one of Larry Hammer's sketches.
Okay.
Like right there and
over the top. All right. Okay. Yeah. So you don't want to lose, if something like that, you don't want to lose that original. You've then lost that original, that sketch art, which does differ very much. So the inker adds so much to the piece that it makes it a different piece almost.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Never. I wouldn't want something inked over an original. Never. No. I agree with you there.
But I think what gets to the point of what Larry was trying to say was he would sketch things differently had he known its destiny was to be inked and finished.
Exactly.
So what Larry doesn't know doesn't hurt him, but I don't know if he would approve of your inking of his sketches or copies of his sketches.
I might show him. I might show him one time.
Do.
Okay. Okay. Next up, we have got this guy. So this there was a guy there promoting his new book, which was this book here. It's called Timpa Hobo. This was obviously back in 2011, and was chatting to the guy, and is self-published guy called Jack Lawrence, and Jack now has done a lot of work for IDW Transformers. He took over from I think Alex Milne possibly on some of the books, or Robert or Andrew Griffiths on some of either Robots in Disguise or More Than Meets the Eye. He did some art for those books. Also did a lot of Sonic books for IDW. But does a lot of Transformers pin-up work and one-shot kind of stuff as well. And but back in the day, he was, pimping his own independent self-published book called Timpa Hobo. And I asked, I was chatting to him, and he gave me the pitch, and it's kind of Star Warsian in that it's kind of a ragtag band of rebels trying to fight for freedom against not a galactic republic, but kind of the system almost, and it's how the crew is kind of getting together. It's kind of comic booky in that style of putting together a crew. But I love the art, and then I went away and I bought the issue, went away, sat down in a free space at the convention, read the comic in 20 minutes, went back to him, and I was like, cool, are you doing sketches? So I asked actually for sketches of characters that I had literally just read 20 minutes ago. So
who's this guy, Chief?
This is a character called Lodd, Lodd, and I am not going to try. I'm not going to. He's a good guy. I'm not going to try and remember what I think. He's an engineer. Had I have done preparation in advance, however, we didn't know what it was going to be. We randomized the sketch reel, so I didn't know what it was going to be. But yeah, he is. I think he's an engineer or something to that regard. But very clean lines from Jack here.
Very clean color.
It almost looks like the black is digital in that it's so clear. And like you say, he just had a big bunch of Copic markers, and he's got a real good effect from effectively using 4 or 5 colors.
Also inked with a brush pen or something as well. Looks like it, or inked with a brush. Yeah,
so there's that guy. So then, of course, I got another guy.
Oh, cool.
This is a guy called Quid. This is a guy called Quidge. Again, apologies, I don't know to Jack. I can't remember what this guy's role is. He looks like some kind of brigand or some kind of pirate dude, I think.
He kind of reminds me of Dexter Jetster from the Attack of the Clones.
Okay, right.
Oh, wow.
Obi-Wan! Oh, buddy, how are you doing? Very fake CG hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of got that jowl to him and the teeth.
Yes, yeah. But he's quite cool. Then I've got another one. This guy is called Spikes, I think. He is... I think he's a lieutenant or a commander on one of the kind of enemy battleships.
Yeah, nothing says enemy like red and spiky. I was about to say, is this one of the hero crew members?
Small eyes, big teeth.
Yeah. Clever use of colors here to get the layering of the spikes across the face. Kind of gives it a bit of depth. But
like highlights of the lighting.
Yeah,
very nice.
And then we've got this guy who is, what is this guy's name? I had it.
Master Splinter.
He's just called the Governor.
Cool Dawn.
Very good.
So
I love the variation of the creatures. I mean, had Star Wars, I suppose, not come out in '77, we might have not been dealing with an all white cast of humanoid characters. We would have had just a bizarre mix of aliens, because hey, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Why does everyone look like a human being? Why all the leads? Yeah,
so I think it's cool, man. Had a bigger budget as well, if you can believe that. Yeah,
I suppose. No, look, I mean, they had plenty of creatures, but they just populated the cantina with them. None of the leads were gonna, put on prosthetics. Forget about it. Harrison, motherfucking Ford.
Well,
Carrie Fisher, we got royalty here. Yeah, true.
And R2, Kenny Baker, and Anthony Daniels. So
talking about the leads here, yo, the Holy Trinity. Anyway.
The leads, R2 and 3PO. Anyway,
most compelling characters in Star Wars, right there, baby.
Yes.
Anyway, that's a long conversation.
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Lawrence and say get on with this book, because he published 4 issues of this book and it never got finished. And I think then he kind of, started getting more prolific jobs. And I guess, as with anything, if you're getting paid gigs and your independent self-published book is definitely a labor of love, it's difficult to find the time to get that finished and done. So hopefully one day you'll get that finished. That was actually all I had from this convention. However, I have found another couple of sketches which I cannot remember where I got them from. So I've dumped them into here. So we've got a couple of bonuses here. Ooh. So here we got this is Zlot, who is a character from the Wildcats. You got it from Image Publishing back in the early 90s.
Is that Randy?
This is Randy Kintz, I think it is. Kintz. I have no recollection of where I got this sketch from. I have faint memories of seeing someone having commission slots open on eBay that I may have bid on and request. They were empty slots, so whatever, buy this slot and then get whatever character you want. And I was and still am heavily into the Wildstorm universe. And I think I was probably reading Wildcats at the time, so I said, can you do me a Zlot? So I guess his style is a bit more over-sexualized than stuff I would normally go for.
I don't even see a string to that G.
Is it wrong of me to what's happened there?
Zoom in. You kind of got it. Hey, what's coming?
I was going to say, is it wrong of me to zoom in there?
We've kind of painted ourselves into a corner, Chief.
Although, if you don't mind, let me just check something quickly on that signature. Quickly, sorry, man.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I thought it was another artist actually. And when you mentioned the name, I was like, "Is it that guy?"
Okay.
But they're very similar. No, man. Like the Wildcats were all about outfits and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I think I still think that even in today's world, there's still a place for this kind of style of comic art and the style of art and the style of character design.
Yeah, youporn.com.
No, it's not. But that's the thing. It's like not about that, It's just.
Well, it plays to its target market, teenage boys.
Although,
that's fine.
And look, this, I'm not saying this is okay. I don't mind this piece, and the artist is clearly not a bad artist.
No, it's very cool actually.
And if you know what you're getting from a piece and from an artist, then I think that's fine. And I do, to a degree, see what Paul's saying in that, even today, companies like Dynamite are putting out Red Sonja books and Vampirella books, and that character sexiness is tied into those characters. So whether or not we had this similar discussion, me and S-Jubs, when we were looking at that action figure Cassia from the Mythic Legions line, and she is very much a non-clothed figure, although obviously she is clothed. She's got kind of a metallic bra on and
some magical G-string.
Yeah, a magical G-string with a tabard kind of covering that area. But Steve, you were mentioning that's kind of what Red Sonja and the warrior barbarian image kind of was from the 70s, from the Frank Rosetta and all those kind of images.
What is this character's power? What is her ability set?
Well, yes, maybe this doesn't tie into that. I guess she is just a supreme fighter. I think she's probably got some above humanoid strength and speed as well.
2 points to that I'd like to make is, firstly, like the ancient Greeks in the Olympic Games used to compete in the nude because clothing was an obstacle. And further to that, wasn't Storm nude when Charles Xavier recruited her for the X-Men? It's like she was a mistress of the weather. She never experienced cold, so clothing was always an encumbrance to her. And Chris Claremont used to write passages about like how she felt claustrophobic whenever she had to wear civilian clothing in Western society in the United States, because where she's from, she would just, do what she needed to do in this world without any kind of covering. So if you are a superhuman, clothing can be a barrier. Like, why would you need it? You so you know,
Okay,
apart
no
from
prize.
selling comic books to horny teenagers,
No prize in the
this
post.
is thank you. This is practical gob for what this character needs to do, which is
Hell
kick a
yes,
lot of ass
I
with a
like
high
that.
kick.
Yeah.
I want to quickly do a small shout out. You mentioned Dynamite earlier and Vampirella and all that. My buddy Warren has actually been doing some of the covers for Vampirella.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they put out about, I see on the solicitations, they put out about 50 covers, 50 different variants per issue.
Yeah,
I'll check those out,
yes.
actually. I'll check those out, yeah.
I'll shoot you a link to him.
Yep.
But yeah, just so you guys know, I mean, he does a lot of DC and Dynamite stuff at the moment.
Cool.
So.
Excellent. I love that.
And yay for Zlot. I'm so glad to see like a totally 90s character pitch up in this. Aside from, our totally 80s character in Judge Dredd. And
Yeah. Cool. And I got one more. This is a Dan Dare piece by Gary Erskine. This, I think I got this from there was a very small monthly comic mart in London that used to run. It was like almost in a just not a warehouse, but just kind of like the ground floor of a convention center, which was just basically full of dealers selling comics and comic merchandise, etc. And occasionally they would have one or two artists or writers there, almost not advertised. They just rock up there. And I had just read, I think at the time, a Dan Dare book by Garth Ennis and Gary Erskine. And so I think that's probably why I said to Gary, are you sketching? He said, yes. I said, well, can you do me a Dan Dare? Because, he had drawn that character. And he's inked and drawn for pretty much every major publisher there is. So, yeah, this is a cool
Incredible.
piece.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like a sketch to me. This looks finished.
Yeah. No, it's incredible.
Wow.
And Gary's someone who does his sketching he doesn't use pencil. He uses a biro pen. I don't know, is biro a thing where you are?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. So
well, we use its equivalents, yeah.
He just uses a biro pen on kind of a thin paper, and then he actually, for the sketch, takes a sheet of paper and lays it over the top of that, and then he kind of does the final pen lines, almost tracing over his original prelim sketch.
Wow,
that's cool.
But yeah, great shadow, great shading here. But like you said, S Jubs, you'd be happy for that for a sketch at a show, I think.
Yeah, for a commission piece. I mean, like, so something that stood out to me from the last episode that we did of this and this now, and it's something that's worth mentioning about all these sketches. I mean, aside from the quality of the art that you're getting, each and every one of these has been a story for you. You've told us about the convention. You told us about meeting this guy. You have memories of having conversations. Maybe like a smattering of what you spoke about. Maybe because you've got a lot of stuff. But that's like the magic here. That's the real thing. And that is, like, for me, why we've now recently started having South African South Africa Comic-Con, which is basically the South African brand of Comic-Con. It's actually Comic-Con, it's Comic-Con SA. There we go. And so now we're starting to get a lot of these like well-known international artists, and it's very interesting because you posed something earlier about how do you meet these people. If you've never been to a comic convention before, if you've never met a quote-unquote famous artist, how do you approach them? And that's actually a question I've got for you, because you seem to have a lot of experience with this, Chief. Like, what has been in your experience the best way to approach an artist at a convention table? When it can,
I think definitely show a bit of interest in what they've got. You're not necessarily gonna always walk away from someone's table having bought something or got them to do something for you, and they know that as well. I'm sure for every 100 people that go up to someone's table at a convention, maybe it's one or two that actually buy something or ask for a sketch or do something like that. So, they know the deal as well. So it's I suppose a lot of it's common sense, isn't it? It's just be polite. Don't go straight in and saying, right, what are you sketching? How much do you charge? I've got this amount of money. It makes it more of a business transaction rather than an interest piece. And I think people just want to chat as well. People that are there as exhibitors, they're just happy to chat to people, and they love it when you go up and you say, this looks really cool, tell me about it. And so they get a chance to say, oh, this is the new book I'm working on, or just a chance to have a chat. Yeah, so
cool.
I went up to, I've told this story a few times before, so at that convention, at that Kapow convention, Brian Hitch was there. And he had done, obviously he did the Ultimates for Marvel, which was a big book he did with Mark Millar. And prior to that, he had done Action Force on Action Force Weekly.
Oh, cool.
Back in the late 80s. And he was telling me, I got him to sign a few Action Force comics, in fact. And I had said to him, how did you get started? And he said I had applied straight out of college. I applied for this position at Marvel UK, and he said, I remember vividly being 16 years old and drawing an Action Force cover on the kitchen table, and my mum was like, come on, get all this crap off the table, I'm serving up dinner. And she was there with the sausages and mash trying to get it all laid up on the table, and he's got all his pens and he's trying to draw this cover for a Marvel UK Action Force comic, which was he said it was just, I didn't really understand what was happening. He said I was just drawing stuff I've been told to draw. I didn't realize it was a big deal or anything. Interesting how people get their starts.
That's crazy here. I mean, I got to share one quickly with we had Ricardo Federici here, and if you don't know, for our listeners, viewers, if you don't know who that is, he's a fantastic artist. He's doing a lot of great stuff for DC and does a lot of like sort of gouache style acrylic paintings. Beautiful work. He's sitting there in the artist alley in SA Comic Con, and he's sitting there by himself. There's like nobody around him. There's no like fanfare. All the fanfare is in like different places with different artists.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this dude and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this is not him. Maybe he's just gone for a loo break, because I've never seen the man before. So anyway, I sort of saunter over and I'm like, oh wow, and I start chatting and I'm like, wow, I really love this guy's work. And I'm like talking to him about him. I'm like, I said to him, like, I've never met the guy before, so like, but I really love his stuff. And he's like, oh, and then he like goes, I am Ricardo. Then
he revealed, yeah, nice.
How long did he let you go for, Paul?
He let me go for about a minute or two.
Great.
I've done the same thing as well before, but the other way around. I've gone up to a table and I've started saying, oh, I really love your work, blah blah blah. I've got a few pieces. What are you working on right now? And then the person said, oh no, I'm not the artist. I'm just his friend. He's popped off to get a sandwich. So I thought I was talking to him. So yeah, maybe
well,
there's
that's
a
on
lesson.
them.
Do your research.
That's on them, Steve. They wanted to just like soak in the reflected glory for a little bit, and then burst your bubble.
I've been in that. I've been in a similar position to that as that Chief highlighted. Now I was watching at one of our icons. I mean, not icon, Rage. I was selling prints. And Warren and I always sell prints next to each other when we are at Rage together and whatnot. And this year in particular, he had too much like a hectic deadline, so he couldn't be there. So I was sort of filling in for him and doing the labor and stuff. And people just come up to you like they don't know who you are. And I mean, like, it's one thing to sort of be coy and be like, oh wow, I really like this guy's work. But it's a completely different thing when somebody comes up to you, go, Warren, I love you, and I'm like,
wait,
I'm not Warren. Yeah, your stuff is so great. I'm not Warren. And it's like, your stuff is amazing. Pulls out the sign. Still not Warren.
Yeah, nice. But while you're here, do you want to buy a print?
Yeah. Like,
exactly.
by the way, I've got all of these prints. Some of them have been pre-signed, and if you want to, I can get them to send you an email to say thank you.
Very cool. Do you take on commissions at all for art?
Me, yeah, I do.
Private commissions, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Cool. I don't take a lot because there's a slow turnaround time on them, because of I try to get to them in between everything else that I'm doing.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good.
And,
if you got any art needs out there, viewers, hit up Weapon Logic. There you go. Links down below. Listen, that was, I think we can kind of see as an evolution of stuff that I was getting from that very first convention I went to, where I'm still very happy with the stuff I got, but it was a lot more kind of quicker, looser sketches. And then
were those all freebies though, Chief, that you've just shown us? Were those...
No, I think the ones from Jack Lawrence from his Timpa Hobo book were £10 a headshot.
Okay,
cool.
And well, you can see the evolution there as well, because I've got probably at least another 7 or 8 headshots from him over other conventions. That he did me a Snake Eyes one as well, which is kind of cool. But you can see the evolution of me getting more finished pieces of work, but you can also see the evolution of the popularity of the convention and the popularity of pieces of work that people want, because those £10 headshots, I think within a few years, they were from Jack Lawrence, they were 20, then they were 30. You know, now a bust piece might be 50. So obviously it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's bringing more popularity to the medium of art and comics and conventions, even if the Joe public has to maybe pay a little bit more for the pieces they get. But hey, everything's only worth what it's worth to you. So
yeah, the experience.
Good stuff, guys. Thanks again to my GI Joburg friends. One from in SA and one in Townsville, Australia. How's the weather out there in Townsville at the moment?
Sweltering always, Chief. I mean, it's 8 o'clock at night, but it's still like 30 degrees.
Okay. And what you got at the moment there, Paul?
I have got it's getting cold. It's starting to get cold. Like the sun is out, but it's cold. That's like typical for South Africa. That's why I'm wearing my Snake Eyes hoodie.
Nice. We got sun this morning and we had snow yesterday, believe it or not.
I believe the UK is in crazy times.
Wild.
It was my brother's birthday yesterday, and
was it? Happy birthday, S Job's brother.
Mark. Oh yeah.
By the time this goes out, it wasn't yesterday. But anyway, my thanks to my guests for this show. We got more WOMA Wheel of Magical Arts coming up, so be sure to stay tuned for that. You might even see these two faces again on a future Sketchbook show. So until then, keep it geek.
Excellent.